Do not be frightened. Do not be frightened. The only way that you can interpret the fact that I am actually looking well dressed with a watch with some face on for this video, it's because I actually had to leave the house and I haven't put on my pajamas again. That's why. I'll be back in pajamas in no time. You will see. Hello beautiful bookworms, my name is Katarina and welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing our February, my February, but it can be yours as well, our February wrap-up. And those are all of the books that I read in February. I will try to keep it short since I read a fair amount of books in February and I want to try and talk a little bit about them. I actually enjoy pretty much all of the books that I've read. There weren't a lot of bad ones, with one exception, which wasn't really bad, it was just disappointing. So yeah, we're getting into it. First of all, let's get very quickly into my rereads. I reread issues 1 through 6 of The Nice House on the Lake by DC Black Label. This one is by James Tynion IV, Alvaro Martinez Bueno, and Jordi Belair. And as per usual, I just gave them 5 stars each, so I'm just gonna show you the covers. We have issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, issue 5, and issue 6. And I cannot wait for issue 7, which should come out here in Portugal the month of April, because I do believe it came out today as the time of filming this, which is the 2nd of March 2022. So there's nothing that I have to say about this except if you like thrillering with a diverse cast in one location only, with a little bit of dystopian, a little bit of horror, but not very triggering. I think not triggering at all for now, I think. This is your thing. Read it. Greatest comic last year for me, I believe, and possibly this year, we will see. Now, talking about new things that I've read, let's start with our first e-arc, and that was The Confessions of Jonathan Flite. So this is by Matthew G. Bayer. I think that's how you tell this person's name. Anyway, I'm going to leave the cover on screen. And this came out in January 1st of 2014, so it's not really an e-arc, it's sort of like a pity read that NetGalley gifted me. So of course all of these e-arcs that I'm going to talk about are from NetGalley, and I am very thankful for them to give them to me, but my opinions are obviously my own. And my opinions of The Confession of Jonathan Flite is that it was fucking awesome. I wasn't even thinking that this e-arc was going to be as good as it ended up to be. So this is basically a healthy mix of sci-fi with horror, with sort of religious fiction. I don't know what to call this, but it was great. It has a dual timeline, and it's about this child that when he's born, it's kind of weird, he doesn't speak, and one day when he does decide to speak, he reveals that he has the memories of these teenagers that a long time ago disappeared in this specific place. So he has their memories. It's like sort of, is it reincarnation, is it not? And he knows everything that happened to them, and because it is still an unsolved mystery, the FBI is trying to work with him. He has psychiatrics trying to work with him. He is committed because of what he says. He has violent reactions to people not believing him, and it's really interesting the way that it's told. The chapters are very short, and the way that the narration is presented, skipping through those teenagers and the years that they have lived and that specific kid, it's really interesting. I really enjoyed it. If you like those sort of things that you can't really explain in the first book, and I do believe that it's a series, I think book 2 and book 3, if I'm right, are already out or in the process of coming out. But it's going to be like a 7 or 9 book series, and I'm still not sure if I'm not going to get this one for me, because it was really interesting. I can't tell you if you'd love it, and I know it's definitely not for everyone, but it was really enjoyable. I think I gave it 5 stars for no reason other than this blew me away. This was pretty cool. The narration style grabbed me, and I read this so fast. So if that helps, it could be one for you. Then I have read what I read every single month, and that was The Joker Presents a Puzzlebox. And this is issue 6, and the people that contributed to this issue are Matthew Rosenberg writing, which he has been doing throughout the entirety of the series. Then for artists, we have Joan Doe, Jesus Merino, and Vincent Cifuentes. And the colors by Joan Doe and Ulysses Ariola. And obviously the covers are by Chip Zdarsky, which I am in love with all the covers of the series. This series, initially, it was my least loved comic series of last year, but now it is intriguing, now it's getting fun. It's not a perfect series, and to be honest, I don't think it's ever going to be my favorite comic series, but I am enjoying it. Strangely enough, I don't know what changed. I mean, I know what changed, but I don't know why I'm now enjoying it, but it's being fun. Then I have read a comic that is not here with me because it's in my boyfriend's house. We read it together, and that is SAGA issue 55, which fucking finally, I mean, SAGA is a comic series that I do believe pretty much every single one of you that does know comics have to know. It's a series by Brian King Vaughan and Fiona Staples, and it has been in hiatus for what, 3 years? Or 3.5 years? I don't know, it was too fucking long of a time after they murdered my heart with issue 54. So I was dying to read issue 55, and I did, and it was a slower issue, which I understand because there was a time jump between where we were and where we are now, and he has to get us again in contact with the characters and what we are worried about and why we care about those characters. So it's not an easy thing to do. It was slow, and actually nothing really happened in this issue, but it was enjoyable to see the art style and the story and the narration type again, and yeah, I liked it. It was fun. I don't think I will ever say that I don't like SAGA comics, but never say never, but I don't think so. Then we have another one that is not a surprise for each month, and that is The Joker, and this is issue 11, which I do believe The Joker is almost done because I do believe it's going to be a 14-issue series, so it's number 11, and this one was way more interesting than the other ones have been because it actually skipped a little into the story instead of just doing useless flashbacks, which are fun and beautifully done in art style terms, but put nothing into the story. And now we are advancing a little bit more, so I'm excited to see what the next issues will bring. I have heard tales about issue 12, I think, and how it will change drastically the story. I don't know. I have excitement to see where this is going. But yeah, there's this Texan family that it's kind of like Leatherface family from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if you've ever seen or heard about it. And I am intrigued. Color me scared and intrigued because I would like to know more about them. I have no idea if they're an actual Batman known villain. I don't know them, but they're pretty fucking interesting. Then I have read, also with my boyfriend, that's why they aren't here, I have read Gideon Falls issue 26 and issue 27, and I finally finished Gideon Falls. And wow, what an amazing comic series. I absolutely love Gideon Falls. It's by Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, and Dave Stewart, and I am absolutely in love with the mindfuck trip that is Gideon Falls. It's basically a horror series, but very sci-fi-ish. It has to do with parallel dimensions to a point, and it has to do with 5 people and a dark barn. Yes, you heard me correctly, a dark barn with a dark cockroach-like creature, which, if that's not fucking scary, you've never seen a cockroach in your life, because cockroaches are scary, and that's the hill I will die on. I mean, if you step on them, they might not die already. Like, they can live through nuclear situations, if that's not fucking scary. And they have a lot of legs. and the antennae, I don't know. I don't really like cockroaches. Maybe they're just nice guys, but I don't like them. So it was a very stressful and scary read for me. It does have some triggers related to mental health and also physical health. And of course, if you are afraid of bugs, particularly cockroaches, do not read Gideon Falls. I am warning you now. Yeah, but it's great. If you love horror and you like to be scared and spooked and consider your reality a lie, read Gideon Falls because it's fucking good. Then I have read a book that was lent to me by a friend, and that was The Trials of Apollo, the Tower of Nero, which is by Rick Riordan, and it's the last book in the Trials of Apollo series. If you don't know, Rick Riordan writes middle grade series, which sometimes are a little bit more young adult than middle grade, because wow, the way he crushes my heart. But apart from that, this has to do with the Apollo series, which are 5 books. This is the last one, the 5th one and last one, and it's about Apollo misbehaving and Zeus being like, bitch, I am sick and tired of your shit, and I'm also a terrible dad. So instead of having a conversation with you, I'm just going to turn you into a really ugly mortal, send you to Earth, and make you fend for yourself, because that's gonna go great. And that's the premise of the story. If you've never read the Percy Jackson series, some of these characters might seem strange to you because they do have an appearance, and there's a crossover with others of his series. But yeah, this was pretty cool. I like Rick Riordan's writing. I think it's funny. I am that person that did not read Percy Jackson in her childhood. First of all, because I'm not English, and so I couldn't read in English until I was at least, 10? 12? I don't remember. That's not the point here. But because, yeah, I don't know where I was going with this. Whatever. I enjoy these. I don't think they're like 5-star-ish, but I would like them to be translated so that one day if I have kids, they can read them, because I think it's a really fun way of learning about Greek mythology and other mythologies in his books in a fun way, and with actually emotional characters and emotional situations and having fun, which is important when you are a kid, to have fun while learning. And a big book like this is not that big because the lettering of this is ginormous, and it's just so much fun that you read it. So yeah. Oh my god, I forgot I've read one more comic series this month, and that's so stupid of me. Well, 2 comic series actually, because I absolutely love this comic series. I have started it way back before I talk about comics in my channel, and I'm now continuing, obviously, with my boyfriend, which is the reason why these issues are not here. But I've read Lady Mechanika, Sangre, issues 1 to 5, and those are by Joe Benitez and Brian Ching and M.M. Chen. I think all of those participated in the 5 issues. If I am not correct, please correct me down below in the comments. And then I've also read issues 1 and 2 of Lady Mechanika, the Monster of the Ministry of Hell, which is fucking gory as shit and dark, and I loved it. And I do believe, again, the story and the cover art are by Joe Benitez and also by Beth Sotelo. I think the rest of the art style. Not sure on this one. Please, again, feel free to correct me down below. And if you don't know, first of all, you should know. But second of all, welcome to me introducing you to Lady Mechanika. It's, there's more series than these ones. These ones are in the middle of a big series about Lady Mechanika, so Lady Mechanika series. It has a starting point, but until now it doesn't have an ending point. And Lady Mechanika, the Monster of the Ministry of Hell, is the last one that is coming out, and it's still in the process of coming out. So, as I was telling you, what was I telling you? Oh, Lady Mechanika is a series that is heavily based on steampunk. If you don't know, steampunk has to do with like Victorian aspects, but with everything that has to do with motors, wheels, kind of things that turn, and like clocks and steam as per usual, and punkish style. So Lady Mechanika, she is an investigator, a detective, but she has arms and legs that are mechanical, so metal. And she doesn't know how she ended up like that. She doesn't know who she was before she woke up like that, quite literally. And we don't know as well. And because of that, we are progressing through a lot of missions that she has to hunt the supernatural and help people in her city and in other places. It transverses through a lot of different cultures. Like, it had Mexican culture, and I'm not remembering if we had other cultures, but I do believe so. It has, of course, English culture and others. But as I was saying, it transverses through some cultures, so she has different missions, and she is pretty much always associated with the occult of the things. She hunts demons, and she tries to save people and help them live their life. But at the same time, we have a running theme of trying to discover who did that to her, because she pretty sure wasn't born that way, and how it happened, why it happened, and why she is the way she is, and who she actually was, because she's called Lady Mechanika because she was found in the city of Mechanika, and not because that's her name. So she doesn't know who the fuck she is and who did that to her and why. It was kind of like a violation of her body. And so, of course, you can see there's a lot of trauma in here, and there are a lot of different and difficult subject matters. In these comic issues, there's a lot of how people were treated back in the days when they had mental issues. There's also a lot about violation. There's also a lot about appropriation of cultures, and even about invading and colonizing others. And all of that is told through the supernatural, but obviously leaning on very actual, real things that happen. It has stuff about racism. It has stuff about differences in society and differences between people. I do believe it also approaches sexuality a little bit, but I don't think that's the main issue that they want to cover throughout the entirety of the series. And the art style in itself, Lady Mechanika is one of the most well-drawn, beautiful characters that I've ever seen. And because you have a steampunk sort of Victorian environment where she and her things happen, you have beautiful settings, you have beautiful characters, you have beautiful art style, beautiful storytelling, and I love it so much that I do recommend that you pick this up and read it. Every single issue of this is gonna be 5 stars for me, unless something fucking strange happens and it gets worse, because I absolutely love Lady Mechanika. I will love it, and I'm very thankful that I get to read them. I have also read another volume of the Ancient Magus Bride series. This is volume 15, and this is by Korei Yamazaki, the story and the art style. We are still in the second arc of the story, which is taking a little bit too long. The first arc of the story was 7 issues. Yeah, 7 issues. And now we are already on volume 15, which means we are 8 issues deep into the second arc of the story of the Ancient Magus Bride, and nothing is fucking happening. I love the Ancient Magus Bride for the story, for what it means, for the psychological issues that it tackles, and for the fact that it has the magus, or the magicians, versus the alchemists, sort of magical type, and the differences between those two in England and in its English culture. And the setting of this, obviously, is very Western-y. It has a lot of... Wow, my words went away for some reason. It's like a light went out in my head. I forgot how to speak. Oh my god. As I was saying, the setting is cool. It has a lot of little characters from English folklore and Celtic folklore, and I really enjoy it. But at the same time, nothing is fucking happening, and I want things to happen. Please, that's why I read manga, because things are normally always happening, and I am afraid that this series is getting too big for its own good. In the same vein of that, we have Children of the Whales, Volume 18 by Abi Umeda, and this is a beautiful, gorgeous, art-styly, narrative-wise manga series. However, I have stated that after volume 16, 17, we have finished having stuff to fucking talk about. Where they're going with volume 18, I have no fucking idea. They are getting a new thing in volume 18. And I was hoping that Children of the Whales ended at volume 20, because I think that it's been too long. You have to know when to end your story, even if you are really a great artist and have a really beautiful story about emotions and such. It's time to stop. I love it. I am never going to give it like a really bad star rating unless it just goes on the drain. But again, stop, or at least move your story to somewhere where we fucking care, which is not being the case in this. And I'm very, very sad to say this, because you know that The Children of the Whales is one of the series that in the beginning and until volume 16, 17, it was one of the ones that I liked most. But now it's kind of being one of the ones that I read because I enjoy the art style and the words, and I just don't fucking care about the emotion in here because there is none. And now for something completely different. I've read another e-arc, and that is Catalyst, Book 1 of the Cat Lady Chronicles. And this is by Susan Donovan and Valerie Mayhew, and it came out on 11th October of 2021, so last year. This is different from everything that you've ever read in your entirety of life, because it's about, our protagonist is this woman. She's like in her 40s or 50s, and she has just had fucking enough. She lives with 12 cats in a trailer next to her best friend's house because she has gone through cancer and now owes astounding medical bills, like something that you've never seen before, and she doesn't have the money to have a house. She has gone through a divorce because her ex-husband was a terrible, terrible, small and horrible man, and he's now marrying someone really, really young and trying to have children with them, and just because she was infertile, he like left her, and he doesn't want to sell their house when one of the conditions for her to get divorced was to actually sell the house, and he doesn't want to do it. And a lot of things just happen in this woman's life. She has already pains that come with age. She's already like, she doesn't have money to get groceries, and she has a lot of cats to feed, and you're like, why does she have so many cats? Because she saves them in the streets, and she sees that they need her, and she just goes and she gets the kittens, and she's just a good lady. And one day she has an accident. Well, she doesn't have an accident. She just sees this figure that looks like a cat in the middle of the road, and that figure is just running away, and it looks injured, and she stops the car, and she eventually gets without car because she can't have a good day, and she discovers a very strange and peculiar cat that is completely wounded and needs to recover. And so she takes him home, only to discover that he works for the goddess Bastet, the cat goddess of Egypt, and that she is the chosen one and has 2 weeks to stop the end of the world. And you can say, well, that sounds like something that I've read. Yes, but you've read that with young adult protagonists, teenagers, people that don't know what they're doing in their fucking lives. Now you have an adult sick and tired of having actual real life problems, and she fucking has to save the world. And she's so fucking cool. I loved this e-arc because it was just so fun, so astonishing that we have someone that is not an actual protagonist that you're used to read about in these types of stories, and she is just so true to herself and so amazing. Even with all of her doubts, she is just amazing, and I love her very, very much. Her name is Felicity, by the way, which is really cool. And yeah, it's great. You have a band of powerful women getting together to kick butt, and it's just, you have a lot of kittens, and it was pretty cool. If it was the best book I've ever read, no, it doesn't have a great kind of narration power, and it has some plot points that are a bit weird and some writing things that are a bit weird, but I really enjoy it. I think it was really lovely, and for what it meant to do, which was like, you have the power to be what you want, even if you are in an older age, I think it was great. It was really great. And since I'm here, let's just talk about the last e-arc that I read, which was Leather and Sage by Taylor Shepard, and that came out on the 21st of November 2021, so last year as well. And Leather and Sage was a disappointment. It was a disappointment. I wanted to read it because it talked about the story of witches, this specific coven that had been cursed, and if they touched this specific flower, they would give birth to what is called a forsaken in their culture, which is witches breed by being cursed the primitives of what is a vampire, and why that's bad for the witches, and how is that clan of witches involved with other witches, and what happens when the little sister of the matriarch of the clan touches the flower. And you see it in dual point of view, so you see it by the eldest sister, which is the matriarch of the clan, and her decisions and what has to be done to save the clan and to keep on living as witches. And then you see it through the point of view of Lillian, her youngest sister, that actually transforms into a Forsaken. However, even though the writing style of this was sort of interesting, it was pretty confused because the author was trying to give it the sense of older writing, so a very use of particular expressions in English that are not used anymore to speak, and I don't think that was a plus point in the writing, because it didn't have a fairly interesting plot and narration enough to carry you through the difficulty that was to get into that sort of language. I find myself sometimes skimming through the descriptions because I didn't like the way that they were described, and just reading dialogue, which is not the point of a book. You don't want to read a book just for the sake of dialogue because you might be advancing important stuff. I did not dislike this book. I gave it 2 stars. I think that this author can do better, and I am excited to maybe one day get another e-arc and read another one of this author's works. However, this one was fairly disappointed. I was expecting more. I was not expecting dark paranormal romance, if you're asking me that, but I was expecting a little bit more terrifying sort of horror fantasy thing about witches and vampires, and what I got was just a mess. There was some plot holes, there were some plot points that didn't make sense, and the prologue was inserted nowhere in the middle of the story. It's like the author wrote the prologue and then forgot that the prologue had been written and just wrote a different story, because fuck you, that's why. And that bores me and it bothers me, and I don't want to talk trash about this author because I do believe that Taylor Shepard has the ability to write a well-written and good story. This was just not the case for me. Then, because February is supposed to be Valentine's month, which for me means horror movies and not hearts, but I digress, I've read a Portuguese book that it's sort of like a romance novella, and that is Amor, a Primeira Assinatura, which means Love at First Signing by Leonor Ferrão. She's a Portuguese author. She has sold out of copies of this in the last book fair last year. And so I got one sent to me, and I actually enjoy it. I have to say that romance novels, and in this case romance novellas, because it's really short, I don't even know if it has 100 pages. No, it has 86 pages. Romance for the sake of romance is not my thing. I like romance in my fantasies, I even like romance in my horror, in my thrillers, but romance just for the sake of romance, unless I'm reading a dark romance or an erotica romance, I don't like it. And when I tried this, I was actually very surprised at the way that I really wanted to read it, at the way that I wanted to turn the pages, and at the way that I was having fun reading it. This is a fun book. That's it. That said, I hate the male protagonist with a passion, and I could never, ever, hopefully, fall in love with someone like this. Because, dude, get your priorities straight please. But our main female protagonist was fun. I had fun reading this, and it was about writing books and an author and signing books and stuff. So it was interesting. I might pick up what Leonore writes next, just for the laughs of it, because it was enjoyable. And at the end of the day, when you have like a motherfucking day or a motherfucking week and you just want to read something that is slow and funny and kind, this was a nice choice. It is too pink for me though, but that's just something. So if you're Portuguese and you haven't picked up Leonore's book, I am telling you now, I recommend it to you. And if you're an editor from somewhere else and you're seeing this, which you probably aren't, but you want to pick up a new romance novella to translate for English or other languages, Leonore's novella is really cool. People have fun, and if people really like romance, I think that they're going to rate this way higher than I did, because it's just, it's not my type of genre, but if even I thought it was funny, then people that like the genre will like it. And then finally, possibly one of the reads that I enjoyed most this month is Price Manor, the second in the series, and that is The House That Bleeds by Jamie Stewart. I really enjoyed this. This is a horror book. We can say horror novella, even though this has 233 pages. So for me, it's not really a novella, but let's just say for the sake of it that it is. I had read the first one last month, which was The House That Burns, if you remember, by Mike Solt. And this one has nothing to do with The House That Burns. So if you're hoping for a cohesive series, you're hoping wrong. This is not a cohesive series. Each and every single one of the authors that are going to write the Price Manor series are going to write their specific stories and are not going to do a direct conclusion and continuation to the book that came before them. And Jamie Stewart's reasoning behind this was really interesting. I really enjoyed it. It was very different of The House That Burns, which I also enjoyed a lot. But it had more reflections on religion, it had more reflections in the good and the bad, and it was sort of a revenge story, most of it. It also had very particular scary scenes that affected me, and it had a cool cast of characters, even though I disliked most of them, and that was at the actual point of it, I think. I would also like to tell you that I've done a review for the Price Manor series, and hopefully I've posted it before this, so I will leave it linked somewhere so that you go and see it. But yeah, I really loved it, and if you're a fan of horror, the Price Manor series is amazing and you should get to it. So that's going to be all for today. I hope that you guys enjoy this video. I hope that you give it a like if you did, and if you've known any of these books or want to read any of these books or discuss any of these books, just tell me something in the comments down below. I am very sorry that this video is really big, but I got comics and e-arcs and I want to talk a lot about the things that I read because I want to share with you the things that I read. So that's going to be all for today, and happy readings to you all. Bye!